Hey everybody, Ryan here at etrailer. Today on our 2021 Ford Ranger, we're going to be checking out and showing you how to install the RoadMaster 6-way round connector plug. So just to kind of give you guys an idea on what your connector plug will look like when you're not using it, whenever you're just kind of cruising around town, you can see it's going to do a pretty good job of blending in. Thankfully the Ranger has a lot of different spots where we can mount this up, and it's kind of dark in this area, so with the plug being black in color, it does do a great job just kind of, blending into the front of your Ranger so it don't stick out too bad. With that said, when you're not using it, it does have a spring-loaded cap, and it's pretty tight actually. And so that's going to have a seal on the bottom and sit up nice and tight against the connector plug itself. And that's just going to help keep out any dirt, debris, moisture, and things like that, which are, in my opinion, the number one demise for these plugs is corrosion. So with this cap on there, that should really help that out. So whenever you are ready to use it and you hook up your flat toe components, all you have left is your wiring. The connector plug is going to accept wires like this with the 6-way round. And when you plug these in, what's nice is that connector plug is super tight, not loose. It really doesn't loosen up over time. We see a ton of these come into the shop, and they pretty much stay tight. So, it gives you a little confidence knowing, hey, it's not going to wiggle around, then my lights aren't going to work when I'm driving down the road. With that said, I can think of a few different reasons why you would need just a connector plug. One of them being it ended up getting damaged. Maybe a rock flew up here or something and busted it, or, you could potentially over tighten the screws that hold it and then crack it or something like that. Or if you have an old kit that you're transferring over to a newer vehicle and just want to be on the safe side, have a new connection up here. Couple of other reasons, some wiring kits actually don't come with the connector plug, so you could pick this one up to kind of complete the package. I've seen other kits that do have the connector plug, and they're just kind of chintzy, so you could upgrade to a better one. Like I said, we have a ton of experience with these plugs in particular. Almost every flat toe setup that we do, we end up using this, so they're reliable and we know they work out well. So at the end of the day, a great replacement or even upgrade to your tow bar wiring setup. Now, as far as getting this hooked up, super straightforward. Everything's labeled, and so you really can't, hook it up wrong. With that said, why don't we go ahead, pull into the garage, and put it on together now. To get the connector plug hooked up, we're going to be here at the front, and we're going to be hooking it up to our existing diode wiring here. I'm going to set the plug aside for now, kind of get everything else ready. We're going to take the rubber plug, or the rubber dust cover rather, off the connector plug, slide that over your wires, kind of just push that back out of the way for now. And then we need to strip each individual wire back a little bit. You can then grab the connector plug. All right, and if you look at the back of it, we're going to have several terminals. We're going to be using 4 of them, and they are labeled. So this one here is labeled TM for taillight. Brown wire will go to it. This one here is labeled GD for ground, so the white wire will go to it. We have LT for left turn, so yellow wire there. RT for right turn, so the green wire will go to it. And something I want to mention, if you happen to have a charge iron or something like that, the majority of the time you'll hook that to the center, if that's your scenario. With that said though, the way these are going to work is you're just going to back the set screws out, so you can use a small Phillips screwdriver, run these out. I try not to take them out completely because them being so small, they're easy to lose, and even if you do find it, they're kind of tricky to get started back in there again. So just back it out a little ways. And what's going to happen is we can then hook each wire to the corresponding terminal. So we'll start with this one, which is TM for tail. Put the brown wire in it, kind of hold it in place, and just tighten down that set screw. So do that same thing for each individual wire. So this is what the wires look like when they're all hooked up. And what you can do is apply some dielectric grease to the terminals to help prevent any corrosion. I wait until the very end to do that once I test it and make sure everything's working and our flat test setup is complete. That way if we have to make changes, we don't have to deal with all that grease. So for the time being, we'll just take our cover there, slide that back over it, and then I'm going to attach it to this bracket. Just use a couple of screws. And then once we have it all secure, what we're able to do is we'll plug our wiring in, test it out, and make sure all of our connections are hooked up properly and everything is functioning. So I went ahead, plugged in to our test box. Now we can check all of our signals, try our taillights, our left turn, our right turn, and our brake lights. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the RoadMaster 6-way round connector plug on our 2021 Ford Ranger.